Hello, America. I'm Kimil Chandler, and this is Qualitative Listening. The Producer Price Index, considered a leading indicator for pipeline inflation pressures, showed no gain for the month after jumping an upwardly revised 0.6% in January. Excluding food and energy, core PPI decreased 0.1%, also against an estimate for a 0.3% increase. Wholesale prices were flat in February, providing some more welcome news on inflation amid tariff fears. Excluding food and energy, core PPI decreased 0.1%, also against an estimate for a 0.3% rise in the first negative reading since July. Core prices excluding trade services showed a gain of 0.2%, also below a 0.3% estimate. Stock market futures paired losses following the report, while Treasury yields remain higher. The report comes a day after the BLS reported that Consumer Price Index rose 0.2% for February, putting the headline inflation rate at 2.8%. A slight easing from January and some encouraging news at a time when markets are concerned over the impact that Donald Trump's tariffs will have on costs. Whereas the CPI measures what consumers pay at the register for goods and services, the PPI is a gauge of final demand prices that producers get for their products. Federal Reserve officials more closely rely on the Commerce Department inflation measure that will be released later this month, though the PPI and CPI figures feed into that report. On a year-over-year basis, headline producer prices increased 3.2%, well ahead of the Fed's 2% goal, though below the 3.7% pace in January. The core PPI was at 3.4% in February, down 0.4 percent point from January. Markets are assigning nearly 100% odds that the Fed again will stay on hold when its two-day policy meeting concludes next Wednesday. Fed officials have said repeatedly that they are taking a cautious approach, particularly when it comes to Trump's fiscal and trade policies. Current market expectations are for central bank to cut rates next June and follow up with an equivalent 2 more quarter percentage point reductions before the end of the year. A 0.2% drop in services prices offset a 0.3% increase in goods. 2/3 of the rise in goods come due to a 53.6% surge in chicken egg prices, the BLS said. Eggs have soared in part because of avian flu that has hit supplies, though there is some evidence that prices have eased in March as outbreaks have slowed. On the services side, more than 40% of the decline come from a 1.4% decrease in margins for machinery and vehicle wholesaling. Tomorrow, I will go back to the yield curve to see if there is any change from the results of CPI and PPI. That's the show, folks. Thanks for listening to Qualitative Listening.